I didn't expect to feel this hollow the night before my wedding. I should have been excited, nervous, maybe even laughing at some last-minute chaos. But instead, I was numb, staring at the ceiling of my apartment, wondering how everything had gone so wrong. My name is Darren, I'm 32, and in less than 24 hours, I was supposed to marry Eleanor, the woman I thought I would spend the rest of my life with. Everything seemed perfect on the surface. We had met 5 years ago at a friend's party in London. She was vibrant, sharp, always able to make people laugh without even trying. I, on the other hand, was steady, unassuming, a quiet engineer with a love for books and late-night walks. Somehow, that balance worked for us. For years, it felt like we were building something real. Not flashy or loud, just steady. Date nights at cozy pubs, weekend trips to the countryside, sharing playlists and obscure movies. I had never been someone who demanded attention or drama. I liked the little things, her hand brushing mine, her leaning against me on the couch, a smile after a long day. And she seemed to like that, at least until recently. About 2 months before the wedding, I started noticing subtle changes. The way she avoided eye contact when I brought up the wedding plans. The way her phone seemed glued to her hand whenever I walked into the room. I told myself I was imagining it, that stress was making me paranoid. But then one evening, while helping her rearrange some boxes in her flat, I saw a message pop up on her screen. I didn't read it, but I saw enough, a name I didn't recognize at first, a tone that didn't match any of her usual friends. I dismissed it again, trying to rationalize, telling myself, trust her, Darren. She loves you. Fast forward to the night before our wedding. I had taken the day off work, thinking we could spend it together, maybe finalize some last-minute details. I walked into her flat, a bouquet of tulips in hand, and saw her sitting on the couch, looking at me strangely. Something was off, but I couldn't put my finger on it immediately. She stood up, a little stiffly, and smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Darren, she said quietly, we need to talk. I felt a pit in my stomach. Something in her tone made me instantly tense. I don't know how to say this, she started, her voice wavering. But I need to be honest with you. Last night, I was with someone else. It wasn't planned, I didn't mean for it to happen, but it did. And I can't undo it. Time seemed to stop. My mind raced, trying to process the words, trying to believe them, hoping maybe she was joking. But her eyes were wide, filled with a mix of fear and regret. I looked around the room as if I could find some sign that this wasn't true, some hidden camera, some illusion. But there was nothing. Everything was normal, the couch, the coffee table, the dim light of her lamps. Nothing had changed except the reality she had just handed me. I wanted to yell, to curse, to demand an explanation. But instead, I felt an odd calmness take over me. Not the calm of relief, not the calm of resignation, just a quiet, piercing clarity. This wasn't a mistake she could fix with apologies or tears. This was a line she had crossed, and there was no going back. I thought about everything we had shared over the years, the trips, the laughter, the promises whispered in quiet moments. And I realized that the foundation I had believed in was cracked, invisible yet unyielding. The person I thought I knew wasn't the same person I was about to marry. That's when I made my decision. I looked at her, really looked at her, and said, "Thank you for being honest. I think it's clear we shouldn't get married tomorrow." She blinked, surprised, a mixture of shock and disbelief crossing her face. "Wait, Darren," I held up my hand. "No. There's nothing more to say. What happened happened. But I can't step into that day pretending everything is fine. I can't start my life with someone who made this choice. I won't." For a moment, she looked like she might beg, might try to change my mind. But I saw the truth in her eyes. There was no remorse deep enough to bridge the gap. There was no understanding, no realization that what she had done wasn't just a lapse but a violation of everything we had built. I packed a small bag, just the essentials, and left her flat. Not in anger, not in a fit of emotion, just in clear, deliberate action. I walked into the cold night, each step lighter than the one before, as if with every movement I was shedding years of misplaced trust and hope. I didn't call her, didn't text. There was nothing left to say. Silence, in this case, was more truthful than words. The next few hours were surreal. I found myself wandering through the streets, the city quiet, almost reflective. I thought about my family, my friends, the future I had imagined, and realized none of it included her anymore. And that was okay. For the first time in months, maybe years, I felt in control of my own life, unburdened by the expectations and betrayals of someone else's choices. By midnight, I ended up at my friend Harrison's apartment. He looked at me with a mixture of concern and understanding. I didn't need to explain much. Just a few words: Eleanor cheated. Wedding's off. I'm done. That was enough. He nodded, not saying much, just letting me exist in the quiet aftermath. And that silence felt strangely comforting. In the following days, I started to process everything fully. I cancelled the catering, informed the venue, returned the rings. Each act, mundane on the surface, was a reclamation of my life, a statement that I would no longer let someone else dictate my happiness or dignity. Friends reached out, family offered support, but mostly I started to rebuild the narrative in my head. Not a story of betrayal, but a story of clarity and self-respect. Eleanor tried to reach out, at first through texts, then calls. I didn't respond. Not out of spite, but because there was nothing left to discuss. She had made her choice, and I was making mine. My life was not over, it was simply beginning in a new direction, away from someone who could not honor the love we had promised to share. I won't pretend the nights were easy. The memory of what was supposed to be, that what could have been moments, they haunted me. But with every sunrise, I felt lighter, stronger, more grounded in the reality that I had done the only thing that made sense. I walked away with my integrity intact. Some might say I was lucky that life gave me a second chance. Maybe they're right. But I don't see it as luck. I see it as clarity. The night before my wedding, I lost someone I thought I loved. But in that loss, I found myself. And for the first time in a long time, I knew exactly who I was, what I deserved, and that no one, no matter how close, had the right to take that away from me. I haven't spoken to Eleanor since. I don't need to. The story ends there, not with a fight, not with tears, just a quiet, undeniable truth. I left, she stayed, and my life moved forward without compromise. And in that silence, I finally understood that some endings are necessary, not tragic. They are liberation disguised as heartbreak, clarity disguised as loss, and in the quiet aftermath, peace finally arrives.